All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, and welcome to my webinar tonight called Happy Mum Equals Happy Kids. Now I'm using a different headset tonight, so I'm hoping that everybody can hear me. If you could just write a little note in your chat box just to confirm now, yes, you can hear me please, just so I know that everybody can actually hear me. I might type a message here as well, just asking if people can hear me as well. And I'm sorry, I'm just also checking an email. Just started now and checking if everyone can hear me okay. Please confirm. Okay, so I'm just sending that out now. So if you can hear me, if you could please let me know, that would be great. Thank you. So I've also just got to send through, I'm just going to check here because I've got to, so just checking if everybody can hear me okay. Yes, loud and clear. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, wonderful. All right, so we'll get started. There's still a few people to come on the call, but they can jump in when they're ready. So we'll get started on the webinar tonight of Happy Mum Equals Happy Kids. And thank you everyone for attending and sparing me your precious time for tonight's webinar. So this is me. My name is Debbie Rossi. For those of you who I have not met before, there are a few familiar names on the call and a few not so familiar, which is great. I'm a kinesiologist. Now, I've been a kinesiologist now for about 6 years. I first got into kinesiology when my second daughter was suffering from continual headaches. Now, she was suffering from headaches for many years, and I believe from birth. So this was at about when she was about 4 or 5 years old that I actually really started to try and figure out what was going on with her. And I'd been to see many people and not many people could help. And I went to see a kinesiologist, and in one session she was able to tell me that it was dairy that was causing the headaches. So once I actually cut out dairy and got over the initial shock of cutting out dairy, I've found that since then she hasn't actually been getting any headaches. So she'll only get headaches now when she's actually had too much dairy, like at parties or even overindulged at home, which is fantastic. So I've also studied counselling kinesiology because kinesiology is quite emotionally based, so it's understanding the underlying emotions of what's actually going on a deeper level, more of a subconscious level as well, rather than just focusing on, say, for instance, the stress or anxiety of a situation. It's tapping down to a deeper level to understand, well, hang on, what's actually causing that stress and anxiety, and dealing it from then and there at that deep core level. I've also studied Brain Gym and Leap. Now these are both brain enhancement programs. Brain Gym is more physical exercises that children and adults can actually do, but a lot of children do them in classrooms, and it's actually getting the children up, stimulating the brain through physical movements around the body and doing different exercises. The Learning Enhancement Acupuncture Program, or LEAP, that's actually using pressure points around the body to enhance the brain and to help the brain feel calmer and more enhanced in its learning, which is both just as effective and work very well together, I find. I'm also the author of Beyond the Schoolyard. That's me holding my book there. This has been a real success for me, and it's been really fantastic. So this is about my personal journey of overcoming schoolyard bullying. When I became a mother, I was confronted with my children and also dealing with my own issues of insecurities as a result of the schoolyard bullying. So this is me and how I overcame that schoolyard bullying to then become a happy and confident mum, to teach my children how to be happy and confident, because I'm a huge believer that our children learn their behaviours through our role modelling. So, and that's what I'm all about. So teaching our children through our role modelling and the way we actually model our behaviours to them. So I'm also a part of this book as well. I'm also an ambassador to Bully Zero Foundation Australia. Now this is a not-for-profit organisation within Australia, and they're specifically there to help people with bullying issues, victims as well as the families of victims. And it was actually set up by a family, by a mum and dad, whose son had actually committed suicide after being cyberbullied. So through their sadness, they've created this foundation to help many other people around Australia who are also suffering like their son suffered. And they do offer helplines and things like that, lots of talks. There's lots of sportsmen and sportswomen involved in it, and they go around to different schools doing talks and things involving the kids and really approaching them at that level. And I'm also a busy mother to 4 children. So I've got 4 children. My oldest is 13. I officially have a teenager now, 11, to think about that, 9 and 7. So this is a bit of the publicity that I've been receiving around my book. I was featured in the Herald Sun, so these are my children. Closest to me there is Karina, my 7-year-old, then Emilio, my 9, Sophia, my 11, and Olivia, my 13-year-old. And I've been on 3AW and also in a few other online magazines as well. So let's get stuck into this straight away. I don't want to waste your time much talking about me. So this is around time freedom, and I believe that one of the most important things of getting in control of your life is actually getting time management happening in your life, because time does go very quickly, yes, and we are 1 month away from Christmas, which is a bit scary, but it is actually about understanding what you do with your time. And here I actually just talk to my clients about actually doing an audit of their time, just to see what they are actually doing physically with their times, because often we get caught up in our day-to-day lives and the busyness of life, and we don't actually know what we're doing with our times. We are flustered and we're busy and we flop into bed at the end of the night and think, I haven't stopped all day, but you know what have I done? I haven't really done anything, sort of thing. And it's like actually looking to see what you've done with your time and what you've done with your days to be able to work out how you can then manage it better, because ultimately you can't change what you don't recognise or what you don't know. For me, when I first did my time audit, I was actually a bit of a Facebook junkie. So I would spend, 10, 12, maybe even 15 times a day I'd go on to check Facebook for 5, 10 minutes maybe a time. And, and that's a lot of time when you add it up. That's over 100 minutes of checking Facebook, and that's a bit crazy. So for me, it was about actually understanding that that was wasting my time, the Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I still do use Facebook, but I use it in a more constructive way, and I don't just keep popping onto it at every chance that I get. I use it more constructively, and I have set times during the day when I'll allow myself to sit down with a cup of tea or a glass of water or maybe a bit of morning tea or afternoon tea and actually check my Facebook. So I'm aware of what I'm doing and how I'm using my time, which is really important. And I do also have an actual physical time audit that I give to my clients as well, and I send them off to do. So if you're wanting a copy of that, just let me know. You can put it in the comment section, and I'll send that through to you as well. And the next part here of my point is multitasking versus single tasking. Now, for me, this is actually really important to understand, because often we get caught up as mothers in this whole world of multitasking, and we are queens of multitasking, trust me. I mean, I have juggled so many different wonderful things at one time, many, many times. But it's about understanding that what multitasking does, it actually stimulates our brain, because we can't actually do more than one thing at one time. Our brain, when we're doing, say, for instance, if we're I don't know, helping our kids with homework, cooking dinner, or we're answering the phone or sending a text message or whatever it may be, when we're doing more than one thing at once, our brain is actually switching between those activities. It's not actually doing them all at the one time. It's flipping, so it will flip. And what that does, it actually puts your brain into an enhanced sense of function. So because it's sweeping, switch, 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 it's actually going fast, so it doesn't know how to calm itself down, because you're constantly in that enhanced state and that alert state of whatever you're doing. So it's about, yes, I do agree that we do actually need to physically multitask, because, I mean, there are seriously many things that we need to do in the one time. And I do believe, I still do multitask, but I do also believe that we need to have times in our day and times in our lives where we can actually devote our time to one task. And what this actually does, it allows our brains to actually feel calmer and feel more in control of what's going on, because you're devoting that time to one task and it's not flipping, flip, 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 flip. It's actually just doing that one thing, which is really important for the brain to calm it down to that level. So that's why it's important to understand again through the time audit what you're actually doing and seeing where you are doing that multitasking and where you can do that single tasking. And ultimately, you know, I mean, if your kids are at school, it's great to do it when they're at school, or when they go to bed, you know, you can do it when they're in bed. So it's just an understanding to allow yourself that time to do one thing at a time, which is really important. And I've just noticed a few more people come on the call, so welcome. We're just going through the slides, so jump in if you've got any questions. You can pop it on the chat on your individual screens, and I'll answer them as I'm going through. And another part around time management is setting goals. So setting goals, it's really important to have something to work towards, whether it be a family goal, an individual goal, or whatever it may be. For it could be work-related, personal, maybe a holiday coming up, maybe an investment or a toy or something that you're wanting. But it's really important that you have those goals, because what it does, it actually gives you something to work towards. And it also gives you that sense of achievement once you've actually achieved it, which is really important to have that sense of achievement, because then it makes you feel like you're doing things, like you're contributing, like you're actually succeeding in what you're doing, rather than going through the mundane day after day after day, almost like Groundhog Day. So those three things here that I've outlined are really important things in actually getting your time management under control. It's really important, because that's the first step to feeling happier and more confident when you feel in control of your outside world and your outside time. And I've written here, I like this quote because it's so true. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot, which is so, so true, because ultimately time does fly, as I said earlier. We are a month away from Christmas, but we are the pilot of it. And through auditing your time and understanding what you actually do with your times, that's how you can actually manage your time and ultimately be the pilot and steer your life in the direction where you want to go, giving yourself more control. The next point around being a happy mother, I think it's really important to understand the past, because when we become mothers, we actually bring in a lot of our past baggage into being a mother, just like with any relationship that we have, whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship or whatever. We always bring our past baggage in. So it's actually understanding what it is in the past that we're bringing to the relationship. For me, like I said, when I was actually younger, I was bullied throughout my high school years, and I felt very low self-esteem, low self-worth from that. And even though the bullying stopped, I still could hear the words of what they said to me and the exclusion, and I brought it into every area of my life through not being very confident and being much quieter and feeling very uncomfortable in social situations. So when I became a mother, it was no different. It was just then that I had these innocent children who were going to learn off my role modeling, but I couldn't teach them how to be confident if I wasn't confident myself. I can't, you know, it's something that they learn through our behaviours. It's not what we teach them. We don't teach a child to be confident. They actually learn it through our modelling and what we do and how we interact and how we behave with others around us. So it's actually understanding the past and what happened in your past that's actually contributing to your present day emotions. And through understanding, it's around acceptance. So accepting the past of what actually happened. You know, you can't change the past as much as, I mean, many of us would love to, but it's not about changing the past. It's about accepting it and thanking the past for what it's given you today. Without the bullying that I experienced, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, and I love what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm more of a compassionate and understanding and caring person because I experienced that heartache during high school. So it's accepting the past because we can't ultimately change it. And again, from here, from the acceptance, comes a level of forgiveness as well. And it's forgiving yourself as well in the situation, not only the parties involved. It's forgiveness. And again, forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about you. And it's about forgiving yourself for yourself, forgiving the other person for yourself. Because when you don't forgive someone, you carry around that bitter and that anger and that frustration and the disappointment with you in every day. But the other person who did that to you, they don't carry that around. They're forgotten. So to be able to forgive is a very selfish thing, and it's about letting it go for yourself, which is really important. And throughout my book, I've devoted a whole chapter to forgiving, because it is something that's quite hard to do, but it's so important to get your headspace and everything right here in the present moment to let go of the past. And learn the lessons from the past. Learning what happened in the past and how you can change it for the future, because again, you can't change the past, but what you can do is you can learn the lessons from it to then grow into a better person in the future, to make different decisions in the future. And that's what the past is there. The past is there to teach us how to behave and what we can do in the future. And it's really important that we look at the past and look at past negative situations and look at it from a different perspective to actually learn the lessons from the past. And again, don't let your past define you in the present. You know, often for me, for many years, I let that bullying define me in the present moment, because for me, it was about, oh, well, I was bullied. No one liked me back in high school, so no one's going to like me here. So I'll just sit quietly in the corner and I won't talk to anybody. But you know what? In actual fact, the bullying, it finished many years ago. But I was letting it continue to define who I was and who I wanted to be in the present moment. And I didn't want my children to grow up feeling insecure with themselves and who they were. I wanted them to be happy within themselves and with who they were. And I needed to show them how to do that, again, through my role modelling. And I like this sort of is what I was saying before, but holding on to a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, which is really, really true. Yep, excellent. Now I've just had a question come through. Yeah, exactly, Karen. You know, it's, again, you're exactly right. She's just made a comment saying the past is the past. You know, we need to let it go. And it's so true, because it is. We can't change it, like I said, but we need to let it go and move forward. I'm just going to have a drink. Sorry, guys. So how's everyone going on the call? Everyone's going well? I'm hoping that I'm not speaking too quickly or running through things too quickly. I want to get it all through within the hour and still give you guys enough time to make a few notes as we're going through. But at the very end, like I said, you can put in comments or questions now, but also at the very end I'll wait on the call for any questions as well, any more personalised questions. So don't feel too stressed if I'm losing you. Look within. Now, this is huge, and this is what has made the biggest difference for me. It's understanding that emotional sting. And when I explain this to my clients, it's almost like when something's going on around you, it's not actually excellent. I've just had someone write that they're single tasking, which I'm very happy with. That's fantastic. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so understanding the emotional sting, it's understanding that what's going on around you will only affect you inside if you're lacking that emotion within you. So, for instance, if somebody says something to you, say, for instance, I don't know, I'm trying to think, you're not a good soccer player. I'm just thinking, because I'm thinking of my son. I was just at a soccer game. If someone says to you, you're not a good soccer player, but if you don't think that, if you honestly believe that you're a good soccer player, then you won't listen to what that person says, because inside you believe, oh no, hang on a minute, I am a good soccer player, so I don't believe what you're saying. It's only when someone says something on the outside and you already feel that somewhere inside, that's when the emotion stings for you, and that's when you actually have that inner feeling of that, you know, of the sadness or the anger or the frustration that comes about with that emotion. But in actual fact, it's got nothing to do with the anger or the sadness or the frustration. It's that emotional sting within you that you need to look at. So for me, I'll use the example of me, a little bit more of a complex one rather than a soccer game. For me, for many years, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I was never good enough in anything that I could do, no matter what I did. So, and what would happen is someone around me would say to me, you know, maybe, oh, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, well, let's use this. So, okay, so being part of not being good enough, I always felt like I wasn't going to be liked because I was never liked in high school. So when I would go to school pickup with my daughter and one of the mums wouldn't look at me, or maybe they were having a chat in their own group, or I wasn't acknowledged, then I would take that internally and think, oh, I'm not liked. I'm not liked here because they're not talking to me. But in actual fact, they were just in their own little conversation, in their own little moment. It wasn't about them, it was about me, because I already had that internal feeling of not being liked or not being good enough for people around me to like me or to talk to me or to spend time with me. So it wasn't about those girls around me or the mums around me who weren't talking to me or who weren't, in my head, acknowledging me. It was about that internal feeling of not feeling liked or not feeling good enough that I needed to deal with. So it's always that emotional sting when something happens or someone says something around you. It's when you go, oh, that sting, that's what you need to look at and understand what that is, because focusing on that outside person or what someone else said, because you can't control them. So it's always coming back to yourself, because that's where you can make the changes. And within this also is happiness is not in our external world. So it's actually not in our world outside of us. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. All right, I'll go back a step because someone's just asked, so how do you change that? Okay, well, you change that through looking at yourself. So for me, for many years, I would focus on, if we're going back to the scenario of mums not talking to me in the playground or me feeling excluded. So when I went in the beginning, I would actually look at those mums and try and think, what can I do? What can I do to fit in? What can I do? Why don't they like me? And I was focusing on them and what they were thinking. But in actual fact, what I needed to do to change that was I needed to look at myself within and think, okay, so I'm feeling like I'm not liked. I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. But why am I feeling this way? Okay, let me go back and let me sort it out. Let me think. And again, I go back to that time when I was bullied throughout high school. And then I start to go through those things that I was talking about earlier, looking at the past, understanding the past, looking at it from a non-emotional point of view, looking at it from a logical point of view. It's always within you that you make the changes. It's not on the outside. Focusing on what people around me said or what people around me are doing or not doing isn't going to make a difference. But what makes a difference is what I think of myself and improving my own self-love and my own self-worth. So then I feel happier and better within myself. So then I can walk in the playground at school and think, yeah, I'm feeling really good about myself. That's nice that they're having a chat amongst themselves because that doesn't involve me. That's okay. I'm happier within myself, and that's what it's all about. So I hope that explains your answer to your question. So how do you change that? But I will continue to keep going through this. Excellent, thank you. So going back to my point around happiness is not in our external world. It's not in the things around us. It's not in the type of car you drive or the job that you have or whether your children are well behaved or, you know, or what your partner said or did or what your friends said. It's not in that. Happiness is within us. And I heard this quote the other day which really rung true with me. You know, it doesn't matter where you go, you always take yourself with you. So you could be basking in the sun somewhere, lying, you know, maybe in a tropical location somewhere, you know, sitting there relaxing. And yeah, sure, you're good for a little while because you'll have that whole honeymoon period where everything is fantastic. But that honeymoon period will wear off and you will come to the point where it's reality. And when reality sets in, that's when our real emotions come out. So it's actually looking to see within ourselves and building that happiness within ourselves and not relying on these things on the outside to fill us on the inside, because it doesn't happen that way. It's got to happen the other way. We've got to fill ourselves up on the inside, and then that'll flow on the outside through self-love and self-worth and self-value, and valuing who we are and what we are in this world for ourselves, not comparing ourselves to other people around us. And letting go of if onlys. This is an extension of the happiness section, because when we let go of if onlys, if only my kids were better behaved, if only my partner said something nicer to me, if only, I had more friends, or if only I had, a holiday coming up, or I drove a better car, or this or that, then I would be happy. It doesn't happen that way. If onlys are an illusion. Yes, like I said earlier, there'll be a honeymoon period where everything's hunky-dory and everything's great, but at the end of the day, you're going to go back to who you always are, because that's the common denominator in any situation, you and your current thoughts and emotions, and it's dealing with that from the inside out. And I like this quote, happiness is a journey, not a destination. Because again, sometimes we get caught up in the when I'm this, or when this happens, or when my kids are good, or this or that, then I'll be happy. But it's not. It's about every day, finding happiness in your everyday life within. And it is what it is. This is around acceptance of what is happening. Often when we're mums, we are busy, crazy mums. We do try and fit in a lot of things, especially when we have multiple children doing multiple activities. So it's about accepting that this is what it is. Yes, I need to be in 3 places at once tonight. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to do my best. Someone's going to have to be early. Someone's going to have to be late. It is what it is. When you step away from the stress and the anxiety of the moment, you can actually see it more clearly and more logical of what's actually going on. You don't actually, when you're in the emotion of it, you can't actually see black for white, because everything's grey, because your emotions will cloud what's actually going on. So it's actually taking a step away. Often this is just taking a breath, taking a moment. I often quite say to myself, you know what, it is what it is. Whether I'm stuck in traffic trying to get my daughter to school, or trying to get to one activity, running late for another, or whatever it may be. But just taking a breath and going, you know what, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about this traffic. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to calm myself down, because that's what I can control. I can control myself in this moment. I can't control the traffic. I can't control the time, but I can control how I'm feeling, which will then in turn allow me to feel less stressed and less anxious, which then in turn allows your children to feel less stressed and anxious. Because when you're stressed and anxious, I bet my bottom dollar that your children will be stressed and anxious as well, because they're picking up on that anxiety and stress within you. So calming yourself down allows them to calm themselves down, and again roles models to them how to do it, how to calm themselves down, and how to be more accepting of what's going on and when things don't particularly go our way. And let go of the struggle to be a perfect mother. How many times do we do this seriously? We have this idea in our head what a perfect mother needs to be, or do, or look like, or say, or what her children need to behave like. But you know what? There is no such thing as a perfect mother. There is no such thing as a perfect anything. But you know what? It's about being as good as you can be for yourself in that moment, and for your children in that moment. It's not about trying to live up to perfection, because that's only going to add extra stress and anxiety and pressures to yourself in trying to get through your day-to-day life. And once we let go of that internal struggle of, I have to do this, I have to do that, or this and that, or whatever, then it feels calmer within. And that calmness again shows on the outside. And before I go on to the next point as well, I want to make a point as well. Often when, I know I've been guilty of this, and I know many people have actually said it to me as well. When we go to school drop-offs or kinder drop-offs, we often see mums there and we look at them and we think, oh wow, how are they doing it? How are they coping? Look at them, they're always smiling. Look at them, their kids always look so good and well behaved. But you know what? They're going through their own crap in their own head as well. And we don't need to know what's going through their head. But we need to understand that anyone can put on that smile, that mask face of happiness and calmness, and understanding that they're not perfect. They've got their own issues that are going on. So it's taking that pressure off you to live up to this standard that unfortunately you may never actually reach. And I'm just reading a note here as well from someone on the call saying, I believe social media has a big effect on how we feel as a parent, which is so, so true, because we see how other people are interacting. And I know at the school there's been quite a few incidences where mums have been, felt left out and felt upset around the fact that, oh, well, why was she invited and I'm not invited to that party, or this or that, and what people are doing. And because it doesn't actually affect us just when we're out in the real world outside of the comfort of our homes. It's affecting us in our home environment when we're on, safe on our couches or on the computers or wherever you may be. It's that constant interaction and that constant bombardment of things that are going on around us. And again, it's the same with our children as well, which is why it's so hard, and we need to really be aware of what they are doing on social media, making sure that we're friends with them, friends with their friends, or we have access to their passwords. And my children know that, if you want to use Instagram, then I need to know your passwords. And at any time I can go in and I check, and I do. And I'm open with them and I'll say, I went in and checked your Instagram today. I saw that da-da-da-da. And it's not always negative. I'll always make sure that I put in a positive. Oh, I saw a picture that you put up. That was great. Or it was nice that you made a comment about that. I'll make positive things as well. But I'm letting them know that I'm there and I'm checking. And I'm talking to them about how people use social media, and talking to them about different things, about how, it's easy for people to say negative things on social media because it's faceless, So it's so true. Social media affects us in so many ways, and it's leaving its mark on our children as well. So it's being aware of that and talking to our children about it, because they're only new to the whole world of it, and they think that it's all fun and exciting, but it's not. There is a dark side to it. So it's about teaching them through our own interactions. And coming back to my slides, seeing the magic in each child. So for me, often we get caught up in the way of, trying to put our children in a little box. They have to be this, they have to be that, or we expect this from them, we expect that. Or I've got 4 children and I want them all to be doing the same thing. But it doesn't work that way. All of our children are individuals, and we can't expect them to fit the mold of what we want them to be. We need to take that pressure off ourselves and off our children as well, and let them become the person that they want to be, but obviously through guidance and through boundaries and role modelling as well, but teaching them to be happy with themselves and not feeling like that they have to change to be accepted or to be liked in any way, because they're perfect just the way they are. And accepting yourself for who I am. Not comparing myself to somebody else. I went to a school assembly yesterday at my daughter's school, and the teacher, it was an assembly for an award-giving assembly, and the principal started off by talking about how it's so important that the girls don't compare themselves to one another. Yes, it's an assembly to acknowledge a select few people getting some awards that day, but each and every one of you have done a good job in what you've done. If you've been kind, you've been respectful, you've done your best, you've worked to your standard, then you need to be happy with yourself. It's not about comparing yourself to others, because that's where that emotional sting comes in, because if we see someone else doing something that we perceive to be better than us, then that's when that feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, they're better than me, comes back into it. And it's again dealing with that emotion that's triggered within you. So accepting yourself for who you are, the warts, everything, the good bits, the bad bits, because you know what? Without everything, you wouldn't be here today, and that's important. And I like this quote as well. Being happy doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It means that you've decided to look beyond the imperfections. Focus on the positive, focus on the things that are going well, focus on the things that make you happy. Don't worry about the little imperfections of an extra wrinkle or a little pimple or a little roll of flab somewhere along the way. Focus on the bigger picture and the whole picture. Excellent. How you all going? Good? Excellent. Okay, so this is around setting the tone. So this is big. This is huge, I think, because and I've mentioned it a few times already. Children love to imitate. Children learn through our role modelling. They don't learn what we preach to them. They learn from our looking at us and watching us and imitating us. I mean, how many, I'm sure all of you have experienced, you know, when your children were younger. I know my kids, one of their favourite games to play was mums and dads, or cooking. You know, they'd have a little kitchen set and they would be cooking exactly the same things that I would be doing. You know, they'd be playing mums and dads and they'd be burping the baby like I burp the babies, or feeding the baby like I would feed the baby. They learn through imitation. They learn through role modelling and what we do and how we behave. So it's about understanding that, and understanding that we're their role model and we're their biggest role model in the world, being, you know, probably about 80% us. And yes, it can be a bit daunting when you look at it that way, but it's actually quite empowering, and it's quite it's special to think that we have the ability to teach our children to become confident and happy just by helping ourselves to be confident and happy. You know, and it's not just in the home environment, it's in every environment. When we're out at school, you know, they're looking and watching us. Are we talking to other mums? Are we hiding in a corner? Are we anxious? Are we nervous? You know, they're learning off us. And they're not just learning off our physical and our words that we say. They're learning off our body language and our facial expressions and the tones of our voices. You know, my daughter, my youngest daughter, is a classic for this, because since she was very young, she'd look at me and she'd go, "Mummy, why have you got that angry face on?" You know, she only said it to me last night. And I was like, "Oh, no, I don't have an angry face on. I'm just tired." You know, so they do. That's what they see. Before we even have the chance to speak, their minds and their brains and have determined what's going on with us through our actions and through our faces and facial expressions and through the tones of our voices and body language and everything. So it's about understanding the whole picture and becoming that person that you want your children to become. You know, that's the greatest gift that you can give your children, to be confident and to be happy within themselves, because then they'll succeed at whatever they do, because they have a belief in themselves that they can do it, that they can do anything that they want to do. And leading by example in your communication. You know, how often do we get caught up in that whole argument phase? I mean, I know I have a teenager, and, you know, it's just crazy, the back chat and everything that I do or everything that I say is so uncool. You know, and I could get down to her level, and when I do, I actually hear myself back. I hear myself in her. She will answer me in the same way that I answer, and it escalates. You know, when I answer her back, in the same way, because she does sound like me when she argues and things, because she's learnt off me. She's learnt off the best, you know, as my husband says. I said, yeah, she does. So it's about understanding that you can control and manipulate the argument into a more calmer and a more happier place just by the way you respond to them. So if you respond, I mean, you know yourself, when you're feeling angry and frustrated, and when someone responds to you in anger and frustration, it makes you angrier. And then you respond again in more anger and more frustration. And it escalates and escalates and escalates until you end up saying something that you probably didn't really mean, but it was just said out of anger. But think about it on the other hand. If you're feeling angry and frustrated and someone responds to you with compassion and with kindness and with love, then more than likely you're actually going to feel yourself calming down a little bit, because that other person isn't then bringing you to that next level. They're bringing you down to feel calmer because they're not responding to you in that same way. I mean, it won't take away all of the anger, but it will help them feel calmer and not add fuel to the fire. And it will again role model to them how to calm themselves when they are angry, rather than taking it to that screaming or to that next level. And looking after your own health and well-being, it's so important. I mean, how many children I see in my clinic, you know, with health problems or emotional issues, you know, often, and I say this to my clients, often children are brought to me like almost like a sacrificial offering. Here, fix my child. Here, what's wrong with my child? My child's overweight, or my child's anxious, or this or that. And you know what? It often starts with in the home environment. It starts with the mother. It starts with the father as well. It starts with that. So it's about looking after yourself, looking after your own health, modeling good eating habits, modeling exercising, modeling, you know, confidence, and modeling happy thoughts, and modeling how to deal with stress and all those other things to your children. And then that will then flow onto them, because that's how they're going to learn. They learn through that. They don't learn if you're sitting there saying to them, you need to eat your broccoli and chicken tonight for dinner, or you're sitting there having, you know, a piece of chocolate for dinner. What are they going to learn? They're going to learn to eat the chocolate. You know, it's about looking at yourself to see what you're actually showing and what you're teaching your children. And yes, children are great imitators, so give them something great to imitate. And often this is the hardest thing, because children do mirror us, and when we see ourselves in our children, it stings a little bit more, because then that opens those wounds again, like I was talking about earlier. And then it, because we're in that fragile state of dealing with our own not feeling good enough, I'm not a good enough parent either, I'm not a good enough mother, I'm stuffing all this up, it brings up our own baggage. So it's about taking a step away from that and just being in the present moment and just taking a breath and dealing with it then and there, not allowing all those past negative things to come in. So this now leads me on to my next slide. Well, yeah, exactly. Sorry, I've just got a comment saying, yeah, it's so true. You know, as much as we do often say, I've just had a comment saying that we often hear our mothers in our own voices when we're disciplining our children. And it's so true, you know, and our children will do that one day when they grow older and they have their children, or whatever they're doing in their life, whatever they decide to do with their life, they will hear us in their own voices and in their own life. You know, we do ultimately become that. So it's about setting the tone now and dealing with it now when we have that control in our home environment and within ourselves. So don't be so hard on yourself, you know, and what do you say to yourself? You know, I mean, this is about feeling happy and confident within yourself. What do you say to yourself? Do you look in the mirror and say, oh, geez, you've put on weight. Oh, geez, that looks terrible. You know, often the things that we say to ourselves, we would actually never imagine saying to anybody else around us. We would never ever say these things, you know, and that's really terrible, because, I mean, it's that constant thought, because we're always in our mind. It's not like you can ever get away from it. We're always there. So it's about taking a breath and saying, what do I actually say to myself? You know, how can I actually be kinder to myself? And be your own best friend. You know, actually understand, you know, treat yourself like you would a best friend. Have more compassion and more love for yourself. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not going to love yourself, then how can you expect people around you to? And how can you, at the end of the day as well, how can you expect your children to love themselves if you're not showing them how to love you, how you love yourself? If you're always down on yourself in front of your children, then of course they're going to be down on themselves and critical of themselves as well. You know, it's the whole, you know, imitation and role modeling again. It's so important that you have more compassion and more caring and kindness for yourself. And again, don't compare your inside to someone else's outside world. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll see that mum at school, you know, and I often have people say to me, oh, you look so calm and, you know, happy all the time. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes I'll say to them, yeah, but you didn't see me 5 minutes ago when I was screaming at my kids to get in the car to get out to school, or to finish packing their bags and put on their shoes to get out the door when I've already asked them, you know, 100 times that morning. We all go through it. I honestly believe that we as mothers all go through the same things. We all have to ask our kids to do one simple thing that they do every day more than once. I said to my daughter the other day, she's 13, we've been going to school now. This is our 8th year because she's in year 7. We've been doing this for 8 years now, Liv. When are we going to know what to do? When are we going to get to the point where you just know when I don't have to ask you? You know, I don't know if it'll ever come. I can live in hope and hope that it does come one day. Maybe, maybe not. And I often say that to her, you know, maybe I'll live in hope that maybe one day you'll be able to know to pack your bag and do all these sorts of things. But we all as mums share the same journey in trying to get our kids organised, trying to do all this for our kids, at the same time trying to cook them nutritious meals and give them a variety of food as well in their lunch boxes and get them to school on time and then do their after school activities and making sure they do their homework and everything else, and the list keeps going on and on and on. So when you rock up at school and you see someone smiling and saying good morning, you know, you don't know what type of day morning they've had at home. And it doesn't really matter to you. Again, it's none of your business what's going on in their own house. What's important is what went on in your house. And that's what's important. Don't compare yourself. In this world that we live, because internet is so readily available and with social media and, you know, things from all around the world, it's in our face all the time. So it's easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to other people and what other people are doing and what other people are wearing and what other kind of car other people have. But it doesn't matter because they're on their own journey in their own life. You're on your own journey. It's totally different. There's no comparison. It's comparing apples to pears. It's not comparing apples to apples. You know, no two life is the same. No two people have had the same experiences. Even when, you know, I'm growing 4 children into young adults. They're not the same. They're totally different. But I'm parenting them the same way. So even in the same environment, in the same home, they're different. They have different experiences and they have different ideas and different agreements and disagreements with me. And that's okay. We are meant to be different. If we were all the same, life would be very boring, as I tell my children. Although on some days it would be nice, but in general, life would be very boring. And be nice to yourself because it's really hard to be happy when someone is mean to you all the time, when you have that constant voice in your head putting yourself down. And again, you wouldn't do that to people around you. So don't do it to yourself. How are we all going? This is the last slide. So I'm just going to take a sip of water. So if anyone's got any water out there, make sure you're having some water as well while you're busily taking some notes. But again, put in any questions or anything as we're going. An attitude for gratitude. This sort of leads on from the past slide around, you know, comparing ourselves to others, but it's about being in the present moment. It's so important to be in the present moment and to understand that the present moment is what keeps the past alive. The present moment is what makes the future anxious. You know, it's here now in the present moment and our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings that are creating our world and our self-image and everything that's going on around us. So it's focusing on the present moment, and through that present moment, focusing on the gratitude that we have in our life for the good things and the bad things as well, because ultimately, again, there's learning to be had in bad situations. The good and the bad, exactly. So focusing on not only the good, because the good it's easy to focus on. You know, there's always fantastic things to be thankful about, a fabulous holiday that you had or, you know, whatever it may be. But you also need to focus on the bad because that's where the learning is done. The learning and our self-development and our improvement of ourself and everything else is done through experiencing these not so good times. And that's how we improve ourselves, by actually going through them and living them and learning from them and incorporating the lessons that we've learnt from those times. An awareness of what we are actually grateful for in our life. You know, we often go through, you know, many days and weeks and months and not actually take stock and think, you know what, I'm pretty damn grateful for the fact that I have 4 healthy children who want to do all these activities, who want to do these things, you know, because otherwise, you know, I'd have 4 sick children sitting on the couch, or 4 brain dead children, as I call them, after playing on the iPad or watching those silly Disney shows that they want to watch. Do you know what I mean? So I'm grateful for the fact that I need to be in 3 places at one time, because you know what? That means that I've got healthy children that I can take to these places and that are enjoying these activities. How fantastic is that? You know, putting that opposite spin on it and not focusing on the negative, focusing on the positive. Celebrating you is really important. It's so important that we celebrate ourselves and take time out every single day to celebrate us. You know, I know we're busy, and I know a lot of you on the call may be saying, oh, hang on a minute, I don't have time to do that. I didn't even have time to, you know, do anything today, let alone celebrate me. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could be a cup of tea. It might even be, you know, a piece of chocolate. It may even be a walk with the dog. It may even be sitting and stopping to say, you know, hi to a friend, or even having a coffee with a friend or something. Do you know what I mean? It's not about a huge thing. It could be a very simple thing, and maybe a meditation or something. But it's actually about making sure that you take time out to celebrate you, because you know what? Without you, the family wouldn't run. You know, my husband often says that, you know, he said to me just recently, if he gets sick, you know, he knows that the house will still run. But if I get sick, he knows that everything will fall to pieces. You know, he needs to take time off work. He needs to do things. The house isn't going to be done. You know, food's not going to be cooked because, you know, he doesn't know how to do it. So it's about celebrating you. And I've just had another message come through. Okay, so it's talking about how when we feel like we're lucky, that it's almost like a jinx and that something will go wrong. And you know what? I actually used to think this a lot myself as well. I used to think that it's luck, you know, it's a matter of luck, and that, you know, oh, I better touch wood because something will go wrong. But you know what? There's no such thing as luck. I've come to realize, and this is now my mindset around it and what I tell my clients as well. There is no such thing as luck, because luck is almost like living in that world of, oh, I wish, or I hope, or, you know, it's almost taking it out of your control. It's not giving you the credit for what you've created. You know what? I am very lucky, yes. You know, I should change that. It's not so much being lucky for having 4 healthy children. I am blessed for having 4 healthy children, but it's what I do that helps them to be healthy. Yes, I make sure that they eat healthy foods. I make sure they exercise. I look at their mind and their emotional well-being as well. You know, and unfortunately there are things that go on in our world, you know, sicknesses and illnesses that take away, you know, our control over certain things, but to a point, we have a lot of control. So it's quite empowering when you think that, you know what, I've contributed to this. You know, often people will say to me, oh, wow, you've had such success with your book, and you're so lucky with your book, and this and that. Oh, no, you know what? That took a lot of work, and it continues to take a lot of work to continue with my marketing and with my book and with webinars and seeing clients and talks and everything else. People don't see all the work that goes on in the background. So, no, I'm not actually lucky. I'm actually just reaping the rewards of all my hard work. So there is no luck involved. So it's actually taking that away and not looking that something will go wrong. It's understanding, why do I think that something will go wrong? For me, I used to think that I wasn't good enough. I'm not deserving of this to go right all the time, because why would I be when I'm not really good enough? I don't really think I'm worthy for good things. So again, it's looking at that internal emotion that's causing you to have that feeling on the outside, which is really important. So I hope that helps in a little bit of explaining that. So celebrating you is really, really important. Celebrating everything that you are, good and the bad bits. So we tend to forget that happiness doesn't come as a result of getting something we don't have, but rather of recognizing and appreciating what we do have. And it's so true. Happiness isn't something in the distance. You know, it's something right here, right now, appreciating and recognizing everything for what it is right now. And that draws me an end to all the slides. Feel free, while I go through the next couple of slides, to start writing any questions or any comments. I will stay on the call a little bit longer because there are quite a few of you on the call tonight, and I want to make sure everybody has everything answered before you leave, or any comments. But I'll just go through this because I did want to give you an opportunity tonight to take this a step further. So your opportunity tonight is to join me for an introductory Happy Mum, Happy Kids session. So this is a 30-minute session to enable you to step into a happy and confident mum. So this was using kinesiology muscle testing. So I didn't really explain this earlier, but muscle testing is about tapping through to a more subconscious, underlying area level to understand what the emotions are that are actually causing you not to feel happy or to feel not confident in your current day life. So it's understanding again what that emotional sting is, because often we don't even know, because we're so caught up in the outside world of she said this, he said that, this happened, that happened, that we don't even really know what's going on. And I know that was for me for many years, many years. This involves a 30-minute session with me face-to-face or via Skype, because I do kinesiology via Skype as well for people who can't come to my clinic, which is in Mont Albert North as well, I should mention, in Victoria. So it's using, as I said, kinesiology testing to uncover any underlying beliefs or emotions that are holding you back from becoming the person you want your children to become. And so my offer to you today is a Happy Mum, Happy Kids Testing for Answers session, 30 minutes of my time, a gratitude diary to start incorporating, you know, that gratitude into your life right here, right now. A copy of my book as well, Beyond the Schoolyard, which has also got lots of tips and tools and everything, things that I've been talking about today, and things that you can also implement with your children. So that's a cost today of just $27. So it's quite a saving there. So, and that's valid for tonight and for anybody who I send this recording to, because I've noticed that there are quite a few extra people on the call who who've logged off early or didn't quite make the call. So I'll send this recording to them, and it's also available to you as well. So that's a cost of $27 for all that value. So if you want to write a little note in the comment box that you're wanting to take that up, and then I can get in contact with you because I've got your email addresses, and we can organise a time and postal addresses, and I'll get and send some stuff out for you. So yeah, just send through a comment. Yep, Karen, excellent, that's fine. We can organise a time, so we'll talk later, Karen. Thank you. So this brings me to the end of my session. So keep putting in your comments or any questions or anything like that. But I do want to say thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me an hour of your time tonight, because I know that we are all busy, but I do appreciate you taking the time to be here. And I do think that you will have found some value in it, and maybe even if you can put a little comment in the chat box while I read out the next poem, because I love this poem, on the next slide, about maybe something that you're going to commit to implementing in your life over the next few days, you know, starting tomorrow. And then it sort of gives you something to commit to, which I think is really important, because often we listen to webinars and go to talks and things like that, but we get lots of information but we don't actually implement it. So maybe commit to what you're going to do through the chat box. I think that's a really positive thing to do. So I love this. Children learn what they live. So if a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with fear, he learns to be apprehensive. If a child lives with pity, he learns to feel sorry for himself. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with jealousy, he learns what envy is. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns to be confident. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with praise, he learns to be appreciative. If a child lives with acceptance, he learns to love. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with recognition, he learns that it is good to have a goal. If a child lives with sharing, he learns about generosity. If a child lives with honesty and fairness, he learns what truth and justice are. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith in himself and in those about him. If a child lives with friendliness, he learns that the world is a nice place in which to live. If you live with serenity, your child will live with peace of mind. What is your child living with? And I love that poem. You can get a copy of that on my webpage if you wanting a copy, www.debbierossi.com.au. Yep, excellent. That's fantastic. So, Shelley, I'll get in contact with you. And what I'll also do, someone's just asked as well for a copy of the time audit that I talked about on one of the very first slides. So I will actually send that out. I'll send out a copy of this recording as well in case you've missed something or you wanted to re-listen. And I know quite a few of you came in a little bit later. So I'll send out a copy of the recording so you can catch up on the things that we talked about in the beginning. And with that, I'll send out a copy of the time audit as well so you can get started on that. Now, sometimes it takes me a day or two to get the recording uploaded correctly because sometimes it just takes extra time. I don't know, the internet, because I've got to download it and then upload it to YouTube. So it is coming. So I will aim to get it out tomorrow, but if it's not out tomorrow, just be aware that it's probably a computer glitch that I'm having and a bit of a problem, and that it will, it is coming. So, so I've had a couple of people commit to a couple of things. Excellent. So Karen said that she's going to start to look at the way she uses social media, and she says, like me, you know, she does use Facebook a little bit too much. So that's fantastic. So just by doing that will allow you to have much more time available, which is really important. And then it gives you that control and gives you more confidence in time management as well. So it's just the little things really. Excellent. Yep, and Susan as well, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome, Susan. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And Susan's going to really start to think about going within, like I talked about, going within yourself to understand what's actually going on rather than focusing on what she said or he said. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Alex. Oh, I love the single tasking. That's fantastic. You know, it's so important that we actually look at, you know, calming our mind down to get us out of that enhanced state of mayhem. You know, it's really important. So that's fantastic. I'm glad everyone's enjoyed it. Keep your comments coming, and that draws us to an end of our webinar. Yes, excellent. No, that's fine, Sally. Yep, I'll send out the recording, and like I said, I will aim to do that. I'll get a start on the downloading tonight, but I am hoping to get that to you tomorrow, so I will definitely send that out to you. So that'll be great. And if you've got any questions from listening to the recording, just shoot me an email, because I am contactable on email, Facebook, phone call, whatever it may be. I'm always available and open to helping people take that next step as well and incorporating some of these things that we talked about, because sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. So thank you everybody for listening, and I trust that you've all found benefit, and I will be in touch with those people who have talked about taking me up on my offer, and I'll hopefully speak to some of you all soon. So take care everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you.